and welcome. If you're new here, my name is Karlie. I am a knitter and yarn dyer coming to you from Alberta, Canada. Today I have a lot to talk about. It's been about a month since my last podcast episode, so I have quite a bit of finished objects, a couple of whips, and some plans to talk about, so let's just get started. Let's start with what I'm wearing, and this is one that I haven't talked about at all on the channel. And this is a test knit for Inga from Knitting Traditions, and this is the Freyr Sweater. So this is currently in testing, and the testing is supposed to wrap up around end of July, but it could take longer just depending on when everybody finishes. So I ended up testing size 1 and the summer version of this. So this is a really versatile, fun pattern where you can use a lot of different weights of yarn. It calls for a 21 stitch gauge, so I was able to get that gauge using this Elsebeth Lavold, Elsebeth Lavold's Hempathy in the color clay here. And this is a DK weight yarn, I believe, and it is 153 yards per 50 grams. So I used about almost exactly 4 balls of this to make my summer version of the Frra sweater. So this is a top-down raglan with some really beautiful cable details throughout. So the raglan is actually a cable, and then the cable goes down into the hem as well. It also goes down the side and it goes down the arm. So it's just a really beautiful, simple yet interesting knit. And it does have shaping, so the back neck is higher than the front, so it fits really nicely. And all of the testers versions are just looking so beautiful. There's lots of different options for the neckline as well. I did just a crew neck, and you can do a mock neck or a turtleneck or like a funnel neck. So it's just so versatile, and I already have my second Freyr planned and I'm excited to cast that on probably in the fall or winter months. I have some beautiful silky wool that's a mustard yellow color, and I think it would look really good in this. So with this one, I was also curious to see how the cables would look in this plant-based yarn, because I don't think I mentioned this, but this yarn is 41% cotton, 34% hemp, and 25% modal. So I was really curious to see how the cables would look, because in a lot of the animal-based fibers that the testers were doing, and like the wools, the cables really filled in, and with this plant-based yarn, as you can see, it doesn't fill in as much and it's a bit airier and gapier. But for a summer tee, I think it looks really nice, and it's just nice and airy and breathable. This yarn was also gifted to me from Knitting Fever maybe a year or 2 ago, and I have just been holding on to this because it is such a beautiful color. And I've mentioned this yarn before in my spring knitting like thoughts little idea video of where I was kind of just brainstorming what I could knit for spring, and I had a couple of plans or thoughts about this yarn, and obviously it didn't turn into that. The Freyr test came up and I thought this would look so good in a summer version, so I'm really glad that I ended up knitting it using this yarn for the Frra sweater. It's such a beautiful color, and I have 2 balls of it left, so I don't know what I'm going to do, because I was hoping to use most of it up for this sweater so I wouldn't have any leftovers, but now I have 2 balls and I'm not really sure what to do. So that's 100 grams and close to 300 yards, just over 300 yards. So I'm not sure, maybe I could make like a cropped top that could go over top of high-waisted skirts, like a little crop tank. I'm not entirely sure yet, but it is just such a gorgeous color, and I can't wait to get a lot of wear out of this. I finished this, I think, exactly in 2 weeks. It was quite a quick knit for me. I just flew through the top all the way to the hem, and then once I got to the cable part at the bottom, definitely slowed me down a bit, because every second row is like cabling every single stitch basically, so it did slow me down, and I'm not the fastest at cables, but with this in particular it's really easy to do without any cable needles, so that is very nice. That is a good perk. So this part I was very slow at, but everything else, it really just flew off my needles. And the sleeves, obviously I didn't have much to knit for the sleeves, so it was just nice and quick. I did have a little bit of problems doing the neckline, being that this is 100% plant-based yarn. It was a little bit tricky for me to get the proper like bind off for this neckline. I picked up stitches at the rate that was suggested, and then I just did a regular bind off. And at first I made sure that I did it super loosely because I just did not want to have to redo the neckline and it not fit over my head. So I did it super loosely, and I did it a bit longer than what is shown here. And when I finished it, it was just so wavy and messy looking. It wasn't at all what I was going for. I was thinking this might block out well, or maybe it'll lay flat once it's wet and I can like stretch it out a little bit. I could also weave in some elastic, but I just knew deep down, I was like, this is not good. I'm gonna have to redo this. So it's not like I ripped out the whole neckline, I just ripped out the bind off, and then a couple of rows I shortened it a little bit, and then I went in and I did a tighter bind off, and then of course I go to put it over my head and it doesn't fit. It doesn't even get close to going over my head. So I had to rip out that bind off again, and I kept the same amount of rows. I thought it looked good with just this tiny bit of 2x2 ribbing. I kept the same amount, but I just redid the bind off again a little bit more loosely this time, and it worked out perfectly. There was no waviness or rippling that happened after that, and it can fit over my head just fine. So it all worked out in the end, but that was probably my only struggle with this knit. Everything else was really smooth sailing, and I'm so excited for the pattern to come out and for all of you to knit it as well, because it is just so fun. And like I said, you can use it with a lot of different yarn weights, so it's really good to use up any like random yarn in your stash that you didn't really have any plans for. So that is my Freyr sweater, the first finished object that we'll talk about today. We have 3 more finished objects actually, so let's start with just this one back here, which is on display. And this is one by myself. This is the Garden Walk shawl, and I asked for some name suggestions on this, and a lot of you gave some really beautiful suggestions, and thank you for everyone for suggesting any names. And yeah, especially for the Garden Walk shawl. One of you suggested that, so thank you very much. That helped me. Sometimes I just get like a blank in my mind. I have no idea what to do when it comes to naming patterns and yarn colorways as well. Sometimes I have a tough time with that, so thank you very much. But I am excited to say that this is obviously completed and off my needles, and the pattern's also out now as well. It's linked down below. It's the Garden Walk shawl on Ravelry. It's also on my website, and it's free. So if you're interested, go check it out. So I knit this shawl in Queensland collection Eco Twist in the color Earth Song, which is color number 2. This was gifted to me from Knitting Fever. And this is considered I believe it's a sport weight yarn, and it is 45% viscose, 35% cotton, and 20% linen. And this is the finished shawl. So it's all over lace. Let me put it on so you can see the lace against the contrasting background of my shirt. Might make it stand out a little bit more. So you start here with your garter tab, and then you eventually just increase and increase and get bigger and bigger. And there's just different sections of lace, and each lace section is broken up by this little, I call them border lace. So it's just a bit of eyelets and then some stockinette, more eyelets, and then you get into the next lace section. And at the very bottom, you repeat the first lace section that's up here. And then you finish it off with the border lace. So it's just a nice, airy, lightweight summer shawl, triangle shape. I find that it's pretty meditative to work on, and it's just some nice like intuitive lace repeats. So the pattern is also mostly charted. So if you like reading from charts, definitely check it out. And if you're new to chart knitting, or not chart knitting, but just reading patterns off of a chart, it's really not difficult at all. And I think this is a this could be a good pattern to start off with because it's basically just yarn overs, knit two togethers, or SSKs. So it's nothing too crazy. But I'm very excited to have this one done. This was a lot of trial and error because I wanted to come up with a shawl pattern. I started at first with some half circle patterns. I had all these ideas and I like started them and I would get about this far and then I wasn't loving it, rip it back, and I did that like 5 times until finally it just clicked, my vision clicked, and this shawl came about. So I'm happy to have it done. I'm happy to have the pattern out and ready for all of you. And yeah, I'm happy overall with everything, I guess, with the pattern and the design. I think it's really nice, and I haven't worn it too much just because it's been really, really hot here. But I know in the coming months on cooler nights, I think it'll be a nice little thing to wrap around my shoulders, or if I'm at a beach or something, it's a nice little layer to have. I also think it could be really cute wrapped around your waist as like a bathing suit cover-up type situation. I wonder if I can try and show that here. See, if you were to do something, let me try and, if you were to do something like this, that would be kind of cute, I think, at the beach. So there's not a whole lot to say about this other than that it's ready, it's available for all of you now. I've talked about it a bunch on previous episodes. But yeah, I just wanted to show that this is all done, let you all know that the pattern is out, and if you do end up knitting it, I hope you enjoy the process. All right, our next finished object is a really exciting one. This is the Lana Lacy skirt by Famke from Mipi, the label, and I knit this in Drops Daisy in the color, I can't remember the color off the top of my head. Let me just check really quickly. Color 30, which is Jeansblau. So this is my first ever skirt that I've knit, and I've been wanting to knit a skirt for a really long time, so I was so excited to have this one done. And this is knit in a worsted weight cotton. It was 100% cotton, so this went by surprisingly quick. I started this May 20th and I finished it on June 15th. And my goal for this was just to get maybe like an inch or 2 done a day, and for the most part I would surpass that and maybe do close to 3 inches a day. Some days I wouldn't work on it at all, but pretty much every day I would work on it, and before I knew it I was like already halfway past the skirt and onto the lace section, and it just really flew off my needles. And you're pretty much just knitting a tube, so it was very enjoyable. You don't have to worry about splitting off for sleeves and separating for the body and all that stuff. It's just nice to knit a straight tube, and there are some increases for the hips, and you do have to put in an elastic for the waistband and sew that off, or you just bind it off basically. But that's all done at the beginning, and then the rest is just straight knitting in the round, and it was just really nice, and I definitely want to knit more skirts. So this is my skirt. It's in this beautiful like faded denim blue color. I've got an elastic in there. I went for a 2-inch elastic, and one mod that I did was I did a purl row here at the top so that when I could fold it over it would just have like a nice seam there, and then you just bind it off here, and as you're binding it off you have your elastic in there. So it's a little bit finicky, but it's not difficult at all, and it's actually really satisfying to have the elastic in there and all sewn up. It just feels so professional. So I have my hip increases on the side here, you can kind of see them. And then after that it's just straight knitting for quite some time, and then you get into the lace section. So there's 3 different lace designs, and they're broken up with these little border lace sections, and there's 2 options, and I chose to do the eyelet one, or you can do this stockinette one. And then I also finished it off with this eyelet row as well, which I don't think is part of the pattern. This is also a free pattern, if I didn't mention that already, so definitely check it out because it is so well written. It is just a beautiful skirt, beautiful design, and it's all for free. And the sizing is perfect for it because it's based on your own measurements of not only your waist measurements, there's a chart for waist measurements, so you choose your size for your waist, and then you go and choose your size for your hips, which is in a different chart. So it's really versatile and you can really make it fit to your body. And I love it so much. You could also change the length. You could do a short skirt version. You could do a longer one. Mine's about mid-length, so it's mid-calf. And I actually haven't worn it too much just because it's been super hot and this is a thicker cotton. But I know on a day where it's just like low 20 degrees, I could easily wear this comfortably. And having this, all this lace section down here, I think will help with the breathability of it as well. So I can highly recommend this. I think it's just an amazing design and amazing pattern. This one, I guess for me, this is stretchy. The only problem I have with it is that I can't take the long or the widest steps in these. I have to take a little bit of shorter steps. So I can't get away too quickly in this one, but yeah, just kind of like shorter steps, but it does stretch a little bit. So I guess that's just one thing to consider if you were planning on making this and making it more of a maxi skirt or like floor length. Maybe you'd want to put in a split down the side there just to make it a little bit more open. But I'm so obsessed with this. It's something that I put on and I think, oh my God, I can't believe I made this. Look at this beautiful skirt. It's just, even though it's so simple and easy to do, it's one of those things where it's just like, wow, yeah, I really made that and it's really cool. I really want to sew a white or a cream top to go with this that's a little bit flowy that I can tuck in, because this is quite form-fitting and it's not completely like straight. It does form and like hug your curves and everything, which I love, but I would like to have something that's a little bit looser and more positive ease on the top, and something I can tuck in and kind of have like flowier sleeves. I think that would look really nice paired with this. So I still have to sew something for that, and I might just self-draft it. I'm not entirely sure yet. I do have a vision in my mind. I just have to bring it to life now. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just so happy with this. I'm so excited about it. It's so gorgeous, and it's kind of one of those like dream pieces that I want in my wardrobe, and now I have it. So it's gorgeous. I will definitely make more. I'd probably just, if I do make more in the future, I might modify it a little bit, maybe play with the length, do a shorter version, or swap out different lace sections in here just so I don't have two of the same pieces. But I think this in a cream color would be absolutely gorgeous. I think that's what Famke did in her sample, was a cream color, which is beautiful. But what's also great about this is that it's drops pairs, so it's super affordable as well. I believe I used 8 or 9 balls of drops Paris, and I think I got them on sale, so they're only a couple bucks per ball. So it was around $20-ish maybe this skirt, maybe 25. So just a huge bargain, I think, even though I did spend hours making it, but still that's entertainment and enjoyment, so that doesn't count. But yeah, I'm so proud of this piece. If you're thinking of knitting a skirt, go check out this pattern. Again, it's free, the sizing is amazing, and the instructions are super clear. I have one last finished object to talk about, and this is also one that I have not talked about at all on the podcast. At least I don't think I have. So this one is exciting because this is the Renunculus by Midori Hirose, which we've all heard about a million times. And this is my first time knitting the Renunculus. This is one that I had resisted for a really long time simply because it was so popular, which is something that I tend to do. If something's incredibly popular, I'll usually avoid it for whatever reason. So I avoided this one for a long time. And I hear a lot of people saying this also, like, don't really understand the hype behind the Renunculus until they knit their first one, and then before they know it, they have 5 Renunculus in their closets and they're planning on more. And I really did enjoy it. I don't know if I'm going to be one of those people that have several of these in their closet. I might have another winter version and maybe that's it, but I really did enjoy the process of it. The lace knitting was really fun and different, and I also do love the fact that you all sizes knit or cast on the same amount of stitches, and you can really just keep knitting and figure out your size from there, which is perfect if you're using a bunch of different yarn weights, or yeah, because you can basically use any yarn weight and go from there. So that's a huge plus. So I knit this in my Karlie Paige Fibre Co yarn. I came out with a new base. This is Sprout Sport, which is 50% bamboo, 30% linen, and 20% cotton. And it is a sport weight yarn. You get 337 yards, 308 meters per 100 grams. So this is the Sprout Sport, and I wanted to knit up a sample for it. I have recently been doing some pop-ups and some markets, and I've met some of you there. So if any of you came to those and supported my business, bought some yarn, or even just came to talk to me, thank you all so much. I appreciate it so much, and I just love meeting you guys. So that really made my day, and it just makes it so fun and so worth it. So anyways, I wanted to knit up a sample to wear to those shows, just to show how this new base wears and show the drape of it on a person. So instead of just having the sample out on the table, I wanted to be wearing it just so people could see how it moves and looks and all that stuff. And I thought, why not try the Renunculus, because it's such a versatile pattern. People have it, a lot of people have it in their libraries. It could be a great one to have as a sample. So I had a like one-of-a-kind color that was just a trial, I guess, for the first time that I was dyeing up this yarn. I just had some leftover stuff, so I dyed up some skeins, and I thought I'll do my sample in that. So anyways, here it is. Here is my sample, and this is my Renunculus, and I really do love it so much. I modified it a little bit with gauge, so I believe the Renunculus is a 15 stitch gauge. This is closer to a 20 stitch gauge. So typically I would wear or knit the smallest size of a pattern. For this one, I did cast on the same number of stitches that is intended for everyone to cast on, and then I did the amount of raglan increases, I think for size 5, and that just made it so it was nice and comfortable and nice armhole depth there, to account for my 20 stitch gauge, which was much smaller than the intended 15 stitch gauge. So I did use a 4.25 millimeter on this yarn, and I used about a skein and a half. And you can see it's quite open and airy, but it's not actually that see-through. Like, you can't really see my hand, although my hand's like the same color as the yarn, so it's kind of hard to see. But I don't have to wear any layers under this, and I don't feel like I'm exposed too much. So as you can see, I did a short sleeve version. I just did a regular bind off. I was going to do an I-cord bind off, but I found that it looked a little messy just with the open gauge that I had. So I just did a regular bind off, and I think it looks really nice. I've also had a lot of questions about the modification I did for the neckline here. So, oh, sorry, I misspoke before. I said I cast on the number of stitches that they said in the pattern, but I did not. So in the pattern, you cast on a certain amount of stitches and you do your ribbing, and then you go and increase a round or two or something like that, and you get to your final amount of stitch count before you go into the short rows. I cast on for that final amount of the stitch count, so I didn't do any increasing or anything like that before getting into the short rows. So I cast on a larger number of stitches. I omitted any of the ribbing. I just did the cast on, and then I went straight in to the short rows. So I did do the short rows for the front and the back, and I believe, oh yeah, this is the front. So I did do the short rows there and in the back. I know I've heard quite a bit from other podcasters and just on the project page itself that a lot of people did not love the short rows in the front and on the back and preferred just to have them on the back. I actually really love the short rows in the front, and maybe it's because I did more of an open, wider neckline that I really like how it fell, but I also like, well, the short rows at the back, it seems like they're deeper and then shorter in the front. So it still raises the back neck still, but I just like how it's kind of hard to see in this light color, but I like how it lowers this lace section a little bit, and I just like how it lays after that. Whereas if I didn't do the short rows in the front, the lace would be right up against there, where now it kind of has more of a scoop. So I think that looks really pretty, and I do enjoy that a lot. And there, the short rows at the back, you can see they're a bit deeper. So I personally really loved that about it, and I thought that was kind of fun doing short rows for the front and the back. I am a fan of doing short rows. I think they're just really satisfying and fun to do. So yeah, I'm trying to think. I think those are most of the modifications. Just cast on, long tail cast on for the largest number of stitches, and then straight into the short rows for the front and back. And that's pretty much it. I flew through this. I think I knit this in a week just because it was a bigger gauge and it was addicting. And once I got through the yoke and it was just plain stockinette, I was just flying through it. So I'm happy with it, and I think it was a good choice for this yarn. It's a nice drape to it, as you can see, like it's just so flowy and drapey, and it's a really good piece to wear in really hot weather. It just has a lot of breathability, and I'm really happy with it. So that was my first knit with this new yarn here, and oh, this is the color Pink Salt, by the way. As you can see, it's a little bit different. But yeah, it was really fun to just see how this new base was going to knit up, and I'm happy with it. I think it's really cute, and yeah, and in this particular colorway, it's just very subtle variegation, as you can see. So that is my Renunculus by Midori Hirose, my first ever Renunculus, and I guess we'll just have to see if I end up knitting more in the future. Like I said, I think I would like to have a winter version with using some wool and a thicker weight of yarn. But yeah, we'll see. I really do like this neckline modification, and I would be tempted to do that for my winter one as well. All right, those are all of the finished objects for this episode. So I have a couple of whips to talk about now. We will start with the smaller whip and the one that is higher priority. So I am knitting a pair of socks for my sister for her birthday, which has already passed, but I didn't finish them for her birthday. So I ended up just wrapping up a pair of unfinished socks and giving them to her. So I really want to get these done soon and give them to her as fast as I can. But I am knitting a pair of my brick and mortar socks, which is a pattern by myself, and they're slightly modified. So I am knitting these in this beautiful yarn here. This is Rowan sock, and it's the color number 1, which is Jewel. And this is, let's see, oh, it's made with 100% superwash wool, 75% wool, 25% polyamide. Yeah. And this is the label here. So I bought this a year or 2 ago. It's been sitting in my stash. I've been loving it. I love looking at it. I just didn't know, no, I think I knew the whole time I was going to knit socks, but I just didn't, I guess I was waiting for the inspiration to strike on what kind of sock I wanted to knit. And then I saw them the other day when I was picking out yarn to knit socks for my sister's birthday, and I thought this would be perfect for her. So I finished one sock. It's not blocked yet, but here it is. This again is the brick and mortar socks, but it is modified. So the original pattern, it's a 5x1 ribbed pattern, but it alternates between like, it like staggers the rib pattern and it alternates between the two. This time I just did one ribbed pattern throughout and I didn't alternate them or stagger them. And this is a top-down sock and it has a strong heel. So it's really cool how this turned out. This is color changing yarn, obviously, and right when I did the heel turn, it switched over to the orange color. It just worked out perfectly, and I'm hoping to get that on the second pair, but that'll be a little tricky. Another modification I did is that when you do the increases here for the, I guess, gusset part, I omitted the ribbing. So in the original pattern, the ribbing continues throughout these increases, and I just did plain knit stitches throughout them all. And the ribbing continues on the back heel as well, just like the original pattern. So yeah, these are the socks. I'm loving how this colorway is turning out. Can't wait to block it too. It'll just really open things up. And I think my sister's gonna really love these. Well, she saw them, she loved the colorway. She's going camping soon. She thought these would be perfect camping socks, and I agree. So I gotta get those done at least by that trip, which no problem. I cast on the second sock yesterday afternoon, and this is all I have. I was knitting outside in about 30-degree weather, and this is all I could do with that. So just a few rows. However, I am trying to make them match. So it worked out perfectly with this toe. I was just like a meter away of yarn before I had to start the orange again. And I was really hoping that the orange wouldn't show up in this toe, and it didn't. So it's nice. Every single color shows up on the sock twice. And so I started the top with orange again, and I'm hoping to get them to match. And I really hope I can get the same effect here, where as soon as I'm done the heel increases, that it changes to orange for the heel turn. That just is crazy how that turned out. So yeah, this is my priority right now. I can hopefully get these done within a week or so, maybe faster, but the weather is cooling down for the weekend, so maybe over the weekend I can get some good sock knitting in and just power through these and get them to my sister. And yeah, then I don't have to have that stress. There's no stress. She is not in a rush to get these, and she's aware as to how long knitting can take. But it would just be nice for me, knowing that her birthday has already come and gone. I want to get these to her as soon as possible. So yeah, I'm sure these will be done by the next podcast episode, which hopefully the next one is sooner than a month, and hopefully I don't have too long of a break in between the next one like I did on this one. But like I said, I had been doing a market and a pop-up at a local yarn store, and the lead up to that I was just doing a lot of yarn dyeing and prep for all of those things, and I just didn't have the energy to podcast after. So yeah, I figured I'll just wait, and then on my next podcast episode I'll have a ton of things to talk about. So yes, anyways, okay, these ones, that's what I'm working on. Brick and mortar socks, modified version. Those are on Ravelry as well, and I'm holding them in this naturally dyed little cotton drawstring bag that I dyed. And I was selling these at the market in the pop-up. And yeah, they're perfect for little projects and for storing, or for sock projects. It fits, everything fits in there quite well. My next whip is one I'm very excited about. This is one that I mentioned in my spring knitting video, and it's been a really popular pattern. It got released a couple months ago, and this is the Lacy Loop Tee by Other Loops. I initially had a different yarn that I was planning on using for this, but then I decided to change up the yarn and use something else. So this is really fun, exciting yarn. This is yarn that I got from my Nana stash. Now this is discontinued, but she had a ton of this in her stash. This is the Pingouin, I think is how you say, Floride. I'm not sure. Oh, color 113. This is 50 grams for 96 yards and 65% viscose and then 35% silk. So it's mostly just, let's see here, a strand like that, and then every now and then there's like these chunks of silk like that. So I've been intrigued. This yarn has been very intriguing to me for a long time, and I'm assuming this yarn is at least like 40 years old, but I'm not entirely sure. Could be younger than that, but it also could be older. And I love the color of it. I love the natural creamy color, and I love wearing this color. And I was so curious to see how this yarn would knit up with all of this natural texture in there. And I thought, let's try this with the Lacy loop tee. This tee on its own has texture, it has garter rows, and it has eyelets. So I'm mixing the texture of the pattern with also the texture of the yarn. So I thought it could be overwhelming, but it could also be really cool. So let me just show you what I have. This is top down drop shoulder. I have finished the back panel piece, and I've just finished the front. This is the front left, and I have to pick up for the front right. And yeah, this has been so much fun. I wanted to get this started and at least have it, a good chunk of it going for when I'm done those socks. So I've kind of put it away for now, and I really just want to focus on the socks, but it's ready for me and it's at a good spot for when I'm done the socks and I can just keep flying through. This did not take me long at all because it was so addicting, and it's just been a really enjoyable pattern. A mixture between just knitting and then doing purl rows and then some really easy lace knitting. So I love how this is looking. I think it has such an organic, natural feel with this textured, loopy look of the fabric paired with the textured pattern. I really did not know what these little slub things were gonna look like, and they're super loopy, which kind of fits the name of the Lacy loop tee and other loops in general. It's like literally has loops sticking out. So I'm very excited. I think it's going to be a really beautiful tee, beautiful summer tee. And from afar, I think it just looks like a really interesting fabric too. I am planning on doing some modifications for this. So for the neckline, it is ribbing, but I'm not convinced in my head yet that this yarn would look good in ribbing. So I think I'm just going to do a rolled stockinette neckline for this and not make it too long, just a short one, and potentially put some lace in there as well. So I'm going to change out the neckline, and this also has it's a short sleeve, but it kind of goes down to about here. I'm going to do at the very least a 3/4 length sleeve and possibly a long sleeve, and turn this into a evening summer sweater, or a cooler summer day I can throw this on, or after a day at the beach, after a day at the lake or the river, when you're showered and you got all your new fresh clothes on and you're ready to just, you know, take in the cool evening. This would be a perfect thing to throw on, and I have this vision in my head, and I think it's going to be the most perfect summer sweater. And I can't tell you how good I feel about using this yarn. Yarn that has been in someone's stash for decades and was my Nana's yarn. It just makes it even more special to me, knowing that she picked this out. And she just, like I said, she has a ton of this. I've only gone through 1.5 of these, and there's maybe like 30 of them in total. So I will have a lot left over. but I thought let's do a long sleeve. Let's use as much of this as possible. And I think it's just gonna look really beautiful. Here's the wrong side. You can see a lot of the loops there. And yeah, here's the front side. It's just turning out to be extremely unique, and I'm just loving the natural look of it and how organic it looks. I kind of knew I would love it. Like I said, I was a little unsure how it would look, but I was leaning towards that. I think I'm going to really like this, but I wasn't expecting to fall in love with this as much as I am. So I'm very excited about this. I think this is one that once I'm done those socks, I won't be able to put down, and it will be kind of addicting and something that, while I enjoy the process of it, it's just going to be one that I want to get done so quickly so I can start wearing. So yes, I'm excited about it. I would love to know if any of you have knit the Lacy loop tee. I've been looking through all the projects on Ravelry, and they're all so beautiful and look so cool. Some have done just a straight like vest kind of version where they don't even pick up stitches for the sleeves and just do some ribbing, and that looks really cool too. I can't recall, I think maybe I have seen some long sleeve versions on there. I'd have to look again, but I think it'll look really cool. The bottom of this does have quite a long ribbing section, and like I said before, I'm not entirely convinced that this yarn would look good in ribbing, so that's something that I might modify as well, and just maybe not just do this the entire way down. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I am 100% sure that I will not be doing ribbing for the neckline. I think doing that stockinette version of a neckline would just make it a little bit more summery and more fitting for this fabric. So yeah, the next time I podcast, there's a good chance that a lot of this will be worked on by then, and a good chunk of it will be done, because I'm very excited about it. And yeah, it's one. Also, this is what I was thinking. I've talked about this before, but my goal with all of this knitting is trying to make pieces that I can wear year round. So like this summer top, for example, it goes really well with my field day jacket by Ozetta. It's an Anoro yarn, and it has so many different colors in there that I can easily wear this with my cardigan in the wintertime. And I think this also can be worn in the wintertime with some tights underneath. It's thicker. I think it'll keep me warm. This I can obviously wear all year round as well. So that's been my goal, is just trying to get pieces that are transitional for each season, and that I can just like style differently for each season and make everything super wearable. So that's what I was thinking with this sweater as well. If I do a long sleeve version, I can easily wear this in the wintertime, and if it's super cold and because there's lace in there, I can just wear a white long sleeve underneath, no problem. And then yeah, obviously I can wear it spring, fall, and summer evenings, no problem too. So that's really what I've been trying to focus on with my knits, is doing little modifications here and there, or just being really mindful about the patterns that I'm choosing so I can get the most wear out of them for the climate that I'm in, which is all 4 seasons, extremely cold temperatures in the wintertime to mild temperatures in the wintertime. Very unpredictable springs, can be so hot in the summertime, but then mild as well. And then fall can be an extended summer or an early winter. So you get a little bit of everything, and I just want to make sure that my closet and all the time I'm putting into this craft can reflect that and can adapt to all of that. So that's why I thought that that Lacy loop tee in a long sleeve version would be really perfect for all of that. Those are all the whips for today. I just have 2 on the go at the moment, but I do have some plans, some immediate plans, especially for when I finish those socks. I'm going to be casting on a different shirt to work at the same time as my Lacy loop tee, and that is the Whiskey Sour by Maxim Sear. This was just released the other day. It's a really cool button-up polo shirt tee that I want to make for my boyfriend Andrew. And Knitting Fever, they sent me a bunch of this Eco Twist in this colorway for this project here. and I have a lot left over, and this pattern calls for sport weight yarn, the whiskey sour, and I thought that this would look really good in that, so, and look really good on Andrew. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish those socks, cast on the whiskey sour, get a little bit of work on it done, and then work between my lacy loop tee and the whiskey sour. And I think that this is going to look so good in that pattern. I think it's maybe like a seed stitch or a moss stitch. It's a textured stitch all over the shirt of the whiskey sour, and I think it'll just look really nice with this blend of colors here. So that is one plan that I'm thinking about. And then once I get either, whichever shirt gets done first, the lacy loop or the whiskey sour, after I finish one of those, I will be casting on the My Bohemian jumper by NORgard Knitters. And I'm actually going to be using this yarn again. More of this Penguin, I've got two of them. More of this Penguin Floride yarn. Because like I said, my Nana had a ridiculous amount of this in her stash. And I think that this yarn will look really good in this pattern because it's very similar to the yarn that the designer used, in that it's thick and thin and textured and uneven. That calls for a bulky weight. This is definitely not bulky weight, but I think I can have an open gauge, and even if my gauge is smaller than the pattern, I'll just go up in size and knit a larger size. And yeah, just change the size a little bit to make up for the gauge that I get with this. And I want to knit this as a gift for somebody. Since I'll already have a sweater in this yarn, I don't need another one, so I'm going to be knitting that as a gift, potentially a birthday present for somebody. So those are my two immediate plans that will be cast on in the near future here, and very excited because yeah, I have a lot of this left over, so it'll be nice to get through a lot of this yarn, and I have a lot of that other yarn, that Penguin, so it'll be nice to get through that as well. And it just feels really good shopping for my stash and trying out these different patterns. It's been really fun, and I've been having just a great time knitting on these different projects and seeing the progress and trying to think of different things I can style them with and all of that, and knitting. I'm excited to knit for my boyfriend again and for the person who will be receiving the Bohemian jumper. I'm excited to do some gift knitting as well. So yeah, that's all I have to talk about for knitting. I say that as if we've just had a 10-minute conversation and I didn't just talk for almost an hour about all of that stuff. But yes, that's all the knitting I've been up to over the last month. It's been fun. I feel like I've been really productive with it and been getting through a lot of projects, so that's been really motivating. On top of knitting and all of that, like I said, I did the market and a pop-up, so I've just been doing some yarn dyeing and doing things like that, and that's calmed down a little bit. And then just been working in our garden as well. I have a big dye garden going, so some flowers are popping up for that, and I've been cutting them and drying them, and that will kind of be put away in storage once they're all dry, and that I can use as dye throughout the next year or so. And so that's been really fun and rewarding. We also have a bunch of vegetables growing and they're doing well. So we've been working a lot on our garden, and I guess that's pretty much it. Just gardening, knitting, yarn dyeing. It's been really nice, and it feels really good to get back at podcasting today because I've been wanting to do that for a while and it's been on my mind for a while. So I think I'll leave you all here, and I'll put some footage at the end of this of just some stuff that I've been up to over the last couple of weeks. And yeah, maybe let me know what you've been working on over the last couple of weeks, or any summer knits that you have on your needles, or winter knits, depending on where you are. And we will see you all next time. Thank you all for hanging out with me today, and happy knitting. Bye.